So my name is Beveridge. I'm a family law attorney in Texas. I practice just south of Houston. For about the past 8 years, I've been involved with a group called the Fathers' Rights Movement. Past 4 legislative sessions, I've been involved in trying to help get the equal parenting bill passed in Texas. I only represent non-custodial parents for the most part, helping them trying to get more time with their kids. HB 803, this legislative session, it's a bill filed by Mayes Middleton. There's been equal parenting bills filed, I think, the past 5 or 6 legislative sessions. Basically what it does is it helps to correct a problem that we have in Texas and that most states have. And that is that in Texas, like in most states, we have many fatherless homes, and at the same time, we have hundreds of thousands of fathers in Texas who are fighting to have more of a role, to have more time in their children's lives. So at the same time, we have these children who are subject to the statistics of a fatherless family. We have these fathers trying to be a part of those children's lives. And what HB 803 does is try to correct that problem by specifying that when parents go to court, either because they're divorced or separated or modification, the presumption is that right off the gate, both of them should have equal time with their children. That doesn't mean that the ultimate outcome is going to be 50-50. It says you just start there. Whereas now we start with the presumption that one parent is going to be reduced to a visitor, and really when you go in, neither parent knows whose that's going to be. So of course they both lawyer up. There's normally a lot of litigation because no one wants to be that losing parent who loses their child and becomes a visitor in their child's life. So with a presumption of 50-50, the idea is that hopefully you take away that need to litigate every case. Neither parent feels like they're going to be a loser, and then the children aren't subject to the detriments of their parents' litigation. They're not subject to the animosity that's caused between the parents. They're not subject to the loss of finances from both parents' households, paying for attorneys, paying for ad items, paying for counselors. They can just skip all that. And statistically speaking, this is what we want for children. They say the greatest indicator of how a child will come out of a divorce is the level of conflict between the parents. And of course, if they're both fighting, there's going to be a lot of conflict. When children have equal access to both parents, you take them out of that single parent statistic, all the detriments of being raised in a single parent household, like greater likelihood of going to prison, greater likelihood of teen pregnancy, emotional issues, relationship issues, all these things that are highly associated with single parent households. When children have equal access to both parents, those statistics go away, and the children statistically are more like children who are raised in intact families. And because the children have enough time with both parents to form a strong emotional bond with both parents. That's the key that researchers find. All these statistics, these single parent statistics and all that, it ultimately goes back to the children, whether the children have a strong bond with one parent or both parents. One emotional bond with a parent is good, 2 emotional bonds are better. That's children in intact families. They can have enough time with both parents to form strong bonds with both parents. But when they only see one parent every other weekend, that is not enough time, researchers find, to form a strong emotional bond with that parent. However, when the children have equal access to both parents, that is enough time to form a strong emotional bond with both parents, and that's why those children are very similarly related to children that come from intact families. In Texas, in many states across the country, opposition to these equal parenting bills typically comes from 2 places. One is lobbyists for family law attorneys. The other is domestic violence groups. Now here in Texas, we really don't have much, if any, of the opposition coming from domestic violence groups. Almost all of the opposition comes from lobbying groups for family law attorneys. Specifically here in Texas, we have the Texas Family Law Foundation, and what that is, it's a 501c6. And what a 501c6 is, it's an organization that's formed to promote the interest of a given industry. For instance, the NFL is a 501c6. It's formed to promote football. Well, the Texas Family Law Foundation is a 501c6 that's formed to promote the interest of family law attorneys in Texas. Essentially, 1 in 6 family law attorneys in Texas are a member of this group. They all pay dues to this group. This group is well funded considering the size of Texas and how many family law attorneys are in Texas. And they take this money and they pay very influential and already very wealthy lobbyists who do a really, really good job of killing these bills. They have relationships with essentially the gatekeepers of these bills. They also spread a lot of misinformation that it's just hard to believe that it even flies. The number one thing they like to tell people is that we don't need this bill because we already have equal access in Texas. Anyone who even takes a cursory look at this situation knows that that's not true. Another one of their favorite remarks is the people that want equal access to their kids only want to get out of paying child support. Well, that's not true because, well, one, in Texas, if you have equal access to your kids, one parent is probably still going to be paying child support. Two, it just assumes that basically no one can want equal access to their kids unless they have bad motives. But I think the correct presumption is that most parents love their kids. Most parents want to spend a lot of time with their kids. A lot of parents miss their kids when they're not with them. And a lot of children want to have more time with their non-custodial parents. So this isn't something new, this isn't something novel that Texas will be doing. This is the trend, this is the way states are going. Every year more and more states are trying to pass these types of bills. Still a lot of opposition from the family law attorneys, but I think right now Alaska, they're temporary orders. In many cases have to be equal possession orders. In Arizona, they have essentially a presumption for equal parenting. In Kentucky, they have a presumption for equal parenting. And I know of Arizona and Kentucky, they have both done studies. For instance, Kentucky found that even though they reclassified their domestic violence in such a way that would make it more prevalent and made the definition more broad, after they implemented these equal parenting laws, domestic violence rates actually dropped. Both these states found that litigation did not increase, contrary to what the family law attorneys are always saying will happen. All the studies in all these states always have very positive outcomes, and this type of situation, equal parenting situation, it's what's recommended by all the experts. I mean, by this time, there's a clear consensus that equal parenting is the best situation for the kids. You know, absent any signs of neglect or abuse or anything like that. From Wake Forest University, you have Dr. Linda Nielsen. I think she had looked at like 62 studies that compared different types of custody situations and the outcomes of children. And what she found was, out of these 62 studies, only 5 of them found that equal parenting didn't benefit children. Not that it was detrimental to children, but that it just didn't benefit children. All the rest of them found that equal parenting benefits children. And then you also have Dr. Warshak in Texas, who he did this incredible study. He found that children benefit when they have equal access to both parents, and that even for very young ages, even 3 and under, children benefit from that. And this study, I think it was co-signed off by over 100, I think it was 112 other experts, social scientists, therapists, counselors, and I mean, it's clear now that there's a consensus that this is in the best interest of our children, that our children need equal access to both parents, and the type of custody arrangements that we have in Texas, the presumptions we have in Texas, are actually detrimental to children. So anyone that wants to support this bill, support the movement, anything like that, and I think one of the #1 things to do is whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, whatever you are, find out who the local party is in your county, the local Republican Party, the county Democratic Party. Find out when they have their meetings. Normally they have meetings once a month, and start going to those meetings. Start, your state representatives are going to be there at times, government officials and whatnot, and start talking to people, start raising the issue. This legislative session, equal parenting is on the Republican Party platform, and that's because of people in the movement like Josh Jarris, Stuart McMullen, Rustin Wright. They have started doing this, going to their local county parties, and they sat on committees and they made that happen. So if you really want to, I think, make a difference, that's a big way to do it. The other thing you can do is just call your representative, your state senator. This is not a federal issue at this time, but you can just Google who represents me, and you'll find out who your state representative is. Give them a call, tell them to support equal parenting bills, tell them to support HB 803. Specifically, ask them to co-sponsor the bill. Right now, a bill has, I think, 15 co-sponsors last time I checked. I think that's the most it's ever had. But call your representative, ask them to co-sponsor this bill as well. Tell them you're a constituent and you want them to co-sponsor this bill.